It had been over 2 weeks since Mrs. Kim last saw or heard from Y, and no visit, no calls, no messages. At first, she thought maybe university had kept her busy. But then she called 3 times and none were answered. Mrs. Kim's heart felt uneasy. Y never disappeared like this unless something was very wrong. So she decided to visit the Lee mansion. Mrs. Kim stepped into the grand hallway quietly. The housekeeper recognized her and let her in, knowing she was always welcome. As she approached the living room, she heard raised voices from the study. She paused. The door was slightly open. And what she heard next made her blood run cold. Mrs. Lee furious. "You are just a child. Shut your mouth, Suho." Suho yelling, "She's your stepdaughter, not a slave. You're selling her to a man 3 times her age." Mr. Lee coldly, $5 million. "That marriage will save our company." Suho slamming the table. "She's engaged to someone else." Taehyung, he's not even back and you're. Mrs. Lee snapping. Taehyung doesn't want her. "He left, didn't he? He's not coming back." Suho shaking with rage. She's crying herself to sleep every night. "And you still want her to marry that old man? What kind of mother are you?" Mrs. Lee cold laugh. "She's not my daughter. She never was. She was just a leftover from his dead wife." Mr. Lee sharply. "That leftover is finally of some use. The wedding will happen, and if she runs, I'll ruin her." Mrs. Kim stood frozen behind the door. Her eyes welled up with tears. Her hands trembled against her purse. This is what that girl lived with. She sat in the back seat, still stunned, Mrs. Kim whispering to herself, "That angel trapped in a house of wolves." She sat in the back seat, still stunned, Mrs. Kim whispering to herself, "That angel trapped in a house of wolves." Her lips trembled. Mrs. Kim angrily, "They'll never get away with this. Not while I'm alive." The clock struck midnight in New York. Taehyung had just finished a long call with an overseas partner, his voice hoarse, mind clouded. His laptop buzzed with another meeting reminder, but his phone vibrated before he could look. He frowned. It was odd for Mrs. Kim to call this late, especially with the time difference. He picked up. "Taehyung, Yama." The silence on the other end wasn't normal. He could hear her breathing, shaky. Struggling, Mrs. Kim soft but broken. You have to come home." His heart froze. Taehyung tense. "What happened?" "Is someone sick?" Mrs. Kim. "It's White, when?" "They're trying to force her into a marriage with a man almost her father's age." "Your father-in-law sold her off for $5 million. Taehyung stood up instantly, his body frozen stiff. Taehyung. What? Mrs. Kim tears streaming. She's being trapped. "She hasn't called because she's suffering. I heard them yelling. The stepmother said she was just a leftover. They treat her like nothing. You have to come back, son, even if you lose your job. Even if it ruins everything, come back. She needs you." His hand gripped the phone so hard his knuckles went white. His head dropped forward, heart racing. Mrs. Kim choking back sobs. "She's a good girl, Taehyung. An angel. She waited for you. She loved you without asking anything. And I let her suffer in that house alone. Please, go to her. Don't let her break." Taehyung after a long silence, voice low and deadly calm. "I'm coming home." Call ended. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, her voice from their last call playing over and over in his mind. "I miss you a lot. Can't you come and marry me?" "I won't be here when you come back. Not in this life." Each word pierced him deeper. His jaw clenched, his breath hitched. Taehyung whispers to himself, "She was begging. And I didn't hear it." His fists trembled. "Taehyung, she was crying, and I told her to sleep." The pain grew louder than his thoughts. He stood abruptly, snatched his laptop, and began booking the first flight to South Korea, Busan. He dialed his best friend next. "Taehyung, Hyman, I'm leaving. Something came up. I'll explain later. Hyun instantly serious. Say no more. I'll cover everything here. Go. Taehyung exhaling. Thank you, man. Call ended. He shut the laptop. Stood up. Eyes cold. Rage quiet. Controlled. He buttoned his coat. Checked the time. And whispered, Taehyung, wait for me. Why? And no one else will ever hurt you again. The Lee mansion was unusually quiet. The air tense, suffocating. Tomorrow was the forced wedding day, and Whyun hadn't stepped out of her room in 2 days. Mr. Lee was on a call, smugly discussing the $5 million deal, when the massive wooden doors of the mansion slammed open with a thunderous bang. Thud, 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 heavy, slow footsteps echoed through the marble floor. Every head turned. Kim Taehyung had arrived, dressed in a sharp black coat, fury burning in his eyes, a thick file clutched in his hand. He looked like a man on a mission, the kind who didn't ask for justice. He delivered it. Mr. Lee stood up, eyes wide. Mr. Lee nervous smile. Taehyung. You're back, Taehyung coldly. Oh, I'm very back. Just in time for a wedding. Mrs. Lee appeared, frowning. Suho stood to the side, alert, tense. Taehyung smiling wickedly. Didn't I say I'd marry her after work? So let's do it. Tomorrow, Mr. Lee began sweating. Mr. Lee hesitant, actually. The engagement wasn't really official. Why? Ends young. We were just considering options. Suho furious. You liar. I saw the draft of the marriage deal. You're selling her. Mrs. Lee snapping. Shut up, Suho. Slap, the sound echoed. Suho held his cheek but didn't look down. Taehyung stepping closer, back out of the wedding, and I'll make sure you're not in jail by Monday. And one more thing, he turned to Whyun, who had quietly entered the room, eyes still swollen from crying, lips pressed in a tight line. Taehyung reached out and grabbed her hand in front of everyone. Taehyung to Mr. Lee, smirking, please attend my wedding tomorrow. It would be nice to see you. Gasps filled the room. Mrs. Kim stepped in, holding her purse with pride, her eyes shining as she looked at her son. Mrs. Kim, that's how I raised him. Taehyung didn't say another word. He turned and walked out, his grip on Whyun's hand unwavering. Whyun followed silently, her body still trembling, but her heart beating free. Thief. She looked down at his hand tightly wrapped around hers, then up at his jaw clenched in fury. She smiled, Whyun soft whisper in her heart. He came back. And he saved me. The ride from the Lee mansion to the Kim residence was quiet. Whyun sat with her hands in her lap, still clutching Taehyung's coat tightly around her. Her eyes were blank, like she was still trying to process what had just happened. Taehyung's grip on the steering wheel was tight, jaw clenched. But his eyes flickered to her every few seconds. She didn't speak. Neither did he. As soon as Mrs. Kim opened the door and saw them, her heart dropped. Mrs. Kim voice trembling. My baby ... double quotes. She rushed to Whyun, pulling her into a hug before Whyun could even take off her shoes. Mrs. Kim tears welling up. Why didn't you tell me? Look at you. You've gotten so thin, your cheeks, your arms. How long were you hiding this pain? Whyun opened her mouth to speak, but her throat closed up. And the next second she broke, tears spilled down her cheeks as she clung to Mrs. Kim. Whyun choking. I wanted to tell you. But I didn't want to be a burden. I thought I could handle it. Mrs. Kim crying with her. You were never a burden. You're my daughter. Always were. Always will be. They cried in each other's arms, the kind of tears that only come when someone finally feels safe. Meanwhile, he sat there awkwardly and comfortably, watching two women he cared for cry their hearts out while holding each other like long-lost soulmates. He blinked, crossed his legs, uncrossed them, rubbed the back of his neck. Why does this feel like I walked into a K-drama finale? Mrs. Kim turned mid-cry. still holding Y and but glaring through her tears. Mrs. Kim, and you? You couldn't sense something was wrong. You couldn't feel it. You ignored her calls, didn't you? Taehyung raising hands like a student caught cheating. I didn't ignore them. I was just very emotionally unavailable. Mrs. Kim, I'll show you unavailable if you ever let her suffer again. Taehyung, yes ma'am. Noted, never again. Wyan let out a small laugh through her tears. Mrs. Kim sighed, pulling her toward the kitchen. Mrs. Kim, you're not sleeping without eating first. And we'll fatten you up before the wedding tomorrow. Taehyung watched them walk off, one holding the other, and something warm tugged at his chest. He smiled a little.